The fear tax, how panic selling destroys wealth. Every investor says the same thing before their first crash. I'm in it for the long term. I won't panic. I know markets recover. Then the market drops 30% in 3 weeks. The news is screaming collapse. Their portfolio is down 8,000 euros. And suddenly the long term feels very abstract. Most of them sell. And that single decision, made in 3 minutes of fear, undoes years of patient investing. The cost of panic is not what you think. Most people who panic sell calculate their loss as the difference between what they paid and what they sold for. That's wrong. The real loss is the difference between what they sold for and what the market was worth 5 years later. In 2008, the S&P 500 dropped 57% from peak to trough. Terrifying. But by 2013, 5 years later, it had fully recovered and was making new highs. The people who stayed in lost nothing. The people who sold in 2009 at the bottom locked in a 40%, 50%, 57% loss permanently, and then had to decide when to get back in. Most got back in too late, after the recovery had already happened, and missed the best days entirely. Missing the best days is catastrophic. This isn't a metaphor, it's a number. If you invested 10,000 euros in the S&P 500 in 2003 and left it untouched for 20 years, you'd have around 64,000 euros by 2023. If you missed just the 10 best days in those 20 years, 10 days out of 5,000, you'd have around 29,000 euros. Miss the 20 best days and you'd have 16,000 euros. Miss the 30 best days and you'd have barely broken even. The 10 best days and the 10 worst days almost always happen within weeks of each other, right in the middle of the panic. The people who sell during the crash miss the recovery that follows immediately after. Why your brain is your worst financial enemy. This isn't a willpower problem, it's a biology problem. The human brain was not designed for investing, it was designed for survival on the savannah, where a threat required immediate action. When your portfolio drops 30%, your brain processes it the same way it processes physical danger. The amygdala fires, cortisol spikes, the rational prefrontal cortex gets overridden. You don't decide to sell, your nervous system decides for you, and your conscious mind builds a rational-sounding story to justify it afterwards. The fundamentals have changed. This time is different. I'll buy back in when things stabilize. These aren't investment decisions. They're fear responses wearing the costume of analysis. The only defense is a system built before the panic. You cannot reason your way through a crash in real time. The decision has to be made in advance, when you're calm, and the system has to make it automatic. That means automating your monthly contributions so they continue regardless of what the market is doing. It means not checking your portfolio every day or every week. It means understanding before you invest a single euro that you will see your portfolio drop 30%, 40%, maybe 50% at some point. Not maybe, definitely. And that the correct response every single time is nothing. Warren Buffett said it simply, "The stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. Every crash is a transfer. The people who panic sell transfer their wealth to the people who stay in, or better, who buy more." The market doesn't care about your feelings. It rewards the people who understand that volatility is not risk. Volatility is the price of entry. Risk is not knowing what you own and why you own it. What to do right now. Automate your investments. Set a monthly amount. Connect it to a global index ETF, and remove yourself from the equation. Write down your investment thesis, why you're invested in what you're invested in, and read it every time you feel the urge to sell. Understand that every crash in history has been followed by a recovery, every single one. The question is never whether the market will recover. The question is whether you'll still be in it when it does.